But why is it so important for us to manage the construction?
I started working in 1973. We make sure at the end of the day the concert is complete successfully.
So, what was the motivation that made you start up with ANPCPMC?
Project management involves management of time, cost and quality. Normal electrical and plumbing and that you may have air conditioning, you will have various other firefighting, and you have the plumbing services and complicated, you may have water treatment plant.
Welcome, friends. Today we are going to explore how this company has grown and where is it moving forward in an interview that we are going to have with Mr. A. Prakash, who is the managing director of this company. I would now like to welcome him on board.
Thank you,
Welcome,
thank you,
Mr.
Sudhir.
Prakash.
Thank you. Pleased to meet you people.
At the outset, I'm sure everybody is curious to know what's your educational background and the experience that you have that has brought you here so far.
Okay, I after my basic pre-university those days, and then I got into engineering, and that is in Mysore. It's known as National Institute of Engineering, where I did my passed out in bachelor's course in civil engineering. And after completing my civil engineering, I had a passion to complete my master's in structural engineering. So I went and I fortunately got a seat in those days called the KREC, Karnataka Regional Engineering College, which is in Surathkal, which is near Bangalore, then now called NIT. So I completed my master's there in 1972. That's the educational background. And then I started working immediately in Delhi. So I moved to Delhi. There was a small advertisement, so I went into Delhi, joined Larsen Tubro as a site engineer to put up their office building, which is a very small office building. That's where I started my career.
I remember when we were discussing some time ago, you were talking about an anecdote you had in a discussion with your grandmother.
Yeah, my grandmother was a fantastic lady. My grandmother, in a sense, my paternal, my father's mother, she was curious to know what is that I have done. Because those days, completing the engineering course was something fabulous. So she wanted to ask and then find out from me what is that I have done. So I went and when I met her, to make it things very simple, told her that I have graduated in civil engineering, and she wanted to know what civil engineering was. So I had to make it very simple and give her the experience so that she could comprehend as to what I was talking. So I told it is to do with construction houses and you build that. But she was not very happy listening to that, and she said, "Why should you spend so much of your father's money to just learn build houses? I have built so many of them. So what was the necessity for this?" So that's how it started. But anyway, that's what the concept and comprehension of civil engineering was those days.
One of the things that comes to my mind is when we are talking about civil engineers everywhere execute work, but why is it so important for us to manage the construction?
See, anything that means management, particularly the civil engineering projects, which are highly complicated, and when you have many stakeholders in that, and you do have projects which are very service intensive, where a lot of other agencies are also there. If you were to consider a hotel or a hospital, we will have plenty of other stakeholders also working on it. Not only stakeholders, they are vendors. Apart from normal electrical and plumbing and that you may have air conditioning, you will have various other firefighting, and you have the plumbing services and complicated, you may have water treatment plant, so on and so forth. So in order to see that, you see all of them work in, while they work in tandem, they also in coordination, cooperation with others. So you will have to make sure that it is nothing but like an organizing an orchestra, and you are the conductor there. You make sure that all of them are in tune. So all of them don't play the instrument or sing in their own way. So that's exactly what is construction management is, and you make sure that as a conductor, you make sure that they all do the same, sing the same tune, and then we make sure at the end of the day the concert is complete successfully, something similar to your project.
Okay. So, what was the motivation that made you start up with ANPCPMC?
Yeah, I started working in 1973. As I mentioned to you, I was a site engineer in Larsen Chibro. That was a simple office where I went as a fresh graduate, postgraduate, if you may so. But then I realized that I didn't know so much of it. That had air conditioning, it had electrical, it had plumbing, and so on and so forth. I was representing the client, so I was only looking at what needs to be done from the point of view of putting up that particular facility. But then over a period of time, I had an experience in within the country and outside the country. When I saw projects, particularly, I started. I was involved in many projects which are five-star hotels, so-called five-star hotels. When you take up these projects, you will definitely see the implications and complications of putting up a building like that. Apart from civil engineering, as I already mentioned, there are so many other vendors. So I found that this is a very interesting thing, and there is nobody who is really focusing on seeing that you manage a project. If when you say manage a project, it is you will have to make sure that it is delivered on time. There is already a quality specification that is given, so you will have to make sure that it is delivered on that particular quality. We meet that quality requirement, and last but not the least is the project cost. So how do you make sure that it is within this? So the project management involves management of time, cost and quality. So that was the focus of that particular thing, and there was no particular agency which were doing. Either you had an architect, you had a designer, you had a contractor, you had a client. But there was nobody who was looking at all these things at the same time and controlling the project and make sure it drive it to the successful end that it has to meet. That I said is something that needs to be done.
And how did the organization grow from there?
I had to be frank with you, I had no idea that I will even have an organization. Today we may talk about an organization. When I started in 1986, I gave up my job and then said, let me give it a try. And I came, Bangalore being my hometown and home city, I came in 86. And then I said, let me give it a try. And then I went about going and talking to people about the importance of that. And I had to knock several doors. And there were people who said that this will not work. As I always say, they used to say construction management is an oxymoron that will never go together. But then you had to prove yourself. So gradually we started working and then the concept picked up. And fortunately at that point in time we had the IT boom. And then people came in and then the multinationals were there. They were talking about project management. And then we gradually, there was a recognition, very though slow, but there was a recognition. But I think the main turning point was when Intel hired us. Intel hired us while we were in competition with the several multinationals. They said, oh, they picked us up. And then we thought, okay, now probably we have got our recognition. And then that's all. We were only 20 at that point in time. So then we grew what it.
What do you think was the reason why Intel chose you compared to so many other competitors who had well-built reputations elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, I was just invited. I was only person who was claiming himself to be a project management consultant. We had multinationals who had come in. So there was a lady there who had seen me work and etc. They said, no, we should have some local person also. So we made a presentation. We put up our bid and we talked to that. And I also was surprised. I mean, for us, it was also something of a very major surprise that we were given that. And I asked the gentleman at the end of the day, after we were given this job, as to what made you, and we should like to know why we were selected. He told us in very simple terms that we were the only company who knew the nuances of the local culture. And we know how to manage the project. See, one thing about construction projects is specific to that particular place. Just because you have worked in one country or the other place, even somebody working in the north and southern states and the other states may not be able to do it. So it is quite specific to that particular culture. So they said we understood that you had that and that's why we selected you. And we did later on another project for them also.
So, what do you think are the key characteristics of a good CPMC?
Somebody who can see you, first of all, somebody who calls himself as a construction project manager should not just graduate and come and say that I have the knowledge of the project management software, therefore I will become a consultant. No. You need a lot of field experience. Then you should be able to foresee in what you today may call it as risk management or whatever it is. You should be able to look ahead and say that potentially there could be the risk and this is what it is. That's as far as seeing ahead. I always say that the general perception of construction project management is nothing but you put few engineers and do the supervision. I've always been saying that it is not supervision and that we should change it to super and vision. That's what is expected of somebody who is doing a construction project management. So you should be able to see ahead and also add value. There's a lot of value that you may be able to add, whether it is in terms of writing a tender document or even looking at the specifications, whether that particular material can be used locally or not, is the specification apt. So these are some of the things that you do, and then when you are there, you not, apart from translating the drawings onto the construction, you'll be looking ahead as to what potentially could go wrong and how do we do that. So the client's interest is at the most, and then you look through it and then tell him that this is a product that you will get. You can do it as you should be able to monitor and tell him what could go wrong. The project cost could go vary or reduce or whatever. That's the somebody who can do all this and have a vision of this is a good construction project management. I mean, over and above that, of course, is the professionalism, integrity, ethics, so on and so forth come.
Can you give us an example of what you would call supervision, which you have looked at in any project?
See, of course, there are many of them. It's a very good question.
Maybe one or two examples would highlight what it really
for
means.
example, there was a case where we are putting up an IT facility for a very large industrial group in the country. And they were coming, Bangalore being the hub those days, so-called Silicon Valley now. So they were putting up a facility here, and it was designed by a world-renowned architect who is an Indian. And then the job of making sure that the project is delivered within the project cost was given to us, and I was personally involved in that project. So when we were going through, we were monitoring the cost, and one of the items that was given was a solid teak wood truss that need to be erected. Not one truss, a couple of three trusses or so at the entrance. From the architecture point of view, he wanted those trusses at the top, and those trusses are for nearly 30 feet span and at a height of 35-40 feet were to be placed. Now, considering that they are solid teak wood trusses spanning 30 feet, I mean, it is something very, very expensive. First of all, it's very difficult to get the steel, the teak wood of that particular length and shape that you want to. So I realized that the intent of the architect was to only make sure that it looks like a teak wood one. So why shouldn't we just clad it with steel wooden planks, but have a steel truss? It could bring down. So this is one thing that you should be able to say that, look here, you don't just translate yes at teak wood and you keep on saying teak wood and do it. That doesn't help. So here is where we got recognized by the client saying that they brought value. Right? That wouldn't have been done by a client who has no engineers on his side, or they may not be civil engineers, and they may not have the courage of conviction to go across and tell him that we will not be able to do it. So this was one case where we had done it, and similarly in one of the other projects that we did for a multinational pharmaceutical company, the equipment, HVAC equipment had come and they had already been delivered on the seaport, and it was undergoing demorages. But it was much earlier than what it should have reached. It had reached earlier. And then we were able to put up a structure to house these equipment, AC equipment. That particular structure that was given by the architect and the structural engineer consisted of columns, RC columns, which are, RC in the sense reinforced concrete columns, which were 6 meter high. So there, like that, there were nearly 6 or 8 of them. I don't remember today. But then, if you were to cast a 6 meter column, you can cast it only in terms of 2 meters.
2 meter.
So you pour 2 meters, you pour another 2 meters. Now, in order to pour an RCC columns of 2 meters high, you need a barbender, you need a carpenter, you need a mason to pour concrete. So looking at this, we drew a schedule and we saw that this is going to be nearly 10 weeks to complete this with the steel truss and the sheeting, etc. So what was on the critical path was those columns. These columns were taking maximum time, and because of the columns, we were losing time. So we said, okay, we need to do something, so we hurry up. So we saw that the AC pipes, steel pipes that come out of 6 meter length.
Oh, okay.
So the 6 meter length pipes could be used. So we just got them off shelf. We put all those columns instead of wasting so much time. But then we did a bit of value engineering to see whether how the steel columns in place of RCC column compare with the demurrages that you're going to pay. It was much cheaper when we got it faster. So this again is where you come in as a project management consultant and then said this is where you should be able to. This is exactly what I mean by supervision. Supervision.
So if you were to look at ANPCPMC and compare it with others in the market, how would ANPCPMC be different?
I think biggest thing that one is I think we have got to work with a high amount of ethics. Our ethics is very well known in the industry, all of them, and we have been able to maintain it. We also have a system to make sure that we are clean, absolutely clean, and nobody, and we are professionals. We also have the courage of conviction to tell somebody, look at, you have to listen to us. It is something similar to going to your doctor. You go to your doctor, you don't tell him the prescription to write. You go to your doctor, he writes the prescription and you have to take the medicine. So that same thing should be there. When you have hired me, I'm going to tell you in the interest of this. If you say you will do on your own, then you don't need us. That courage of conviction is there for us. So there are several projects where we have told them that, sorry, we will not be able to continue. I don't know how many others will. My competitors, I won't be able to talk about. I shouldn't be talking also about their professional competency, etc. We are known, and there are people, and we have a very good culture in terms of sharing knowledge. We have a session where we call it a knowledge sharing session every Saturday. I don't know how many of them do it. We are very, very particular that the knowledge that we have acquired over so many decades have to be shared, and we share it with everybody. We have a system where we have completely stored all these things. Anybody can refer, and we have a system where within the organization, we pose questions, we ask anybody has done similar thing. So the knowledge is not in silos, it is spread. That is one of the things I don't think anybody else does that.
Yeah, that's true of any knowledge-driven organization. But another thing that I have noticed is any of your competitors today are going beyond the normal, what you say, from the concept to the end. But they are also taking care of the pre-concept stage and the post-construction stage.
I consider it as a conflict of interest. There are people who have got into even designing and architecture. They also take up construction and then say we do project management. I think it's totally wrong. You are there, your purpose of your role is to make sure that everybody else is there. But once you have got your own sister company as another, I'm sure there is a human tendency to soft pedal that. You should not be doing it. And it should be absolutely in the interest of the client and that's going back to what was being done. As a matter of fact, the earlier days, it was a consultant who used to put a clerk of works at the site and then say, he used to tell him, you do this, you do that. Then who is looking out the interest of the client?
Okay. That brings me down to the other part of it is in terms of the employees, a good construction project management professional, what are the qualities that a person would have that would tell you that he is a good construction management professional?
That's always been a challenge for somebody to, because most of these young boys and girls who come, they come from different backgrounds. In the sense, not the cultural backgrounds, it's the professional background. Somebody maybe would have worked for a contractor. So whatever he has done in those days and whatever he has learnt in that, he thinks probably he's got a tendency to learn that is what he should be doing. Or if he is with a consultant in what he has worked, you may say that. But to unlearn and learn as to construction project management, what you need is a challenge. And there are certain skills that a construction project manager must possess. One is that people management. We always deal with people. You should know how to manage people. Without knowing how to manage people, it may be an architect, it may be a structural consultant, it may be a contractor, it may be a client, the client's representative, you may have the workers at site, you may have other agencies who are there. You have to carry them all along. So you have to be a good people manager. You should know how to deal with people, how to respect them, and that's a challenge because each time you meet different. A person who is a multinational coming abroad, the way he looks at you is different. He's culturally different. His background is different. So you should be able to handle that. That's one thing. And then your basics of engineering. You cannot forget that. You should have the basics of engineering to be able to say that this is what it should be in terms of engineering. For us engineers, there is no, 2 into 2 is 4. So there is no subjective thing about it. It's very clear about it. So that he should be able to do it. That's one thing that we look at it. And constantly learn what is happening on the day to day. This is one of the things that they should do is lifelong learning. And I always say that is what is very important for a manager. He can't say, I am a civil engineer, I don't know plumbing, I don't know electrical, I don't know. So if you don't have to know the design aspect of it, but you should at least know how it works, how it functions. So your knowledge has to be wide. Your cross-functional knowledge also has to be picked up. So you will be able to talk coherently about that. Then your knowledge of the contracts. How good are you in interpreting the contract, in administrating the contract? These are some of the things that quality. There are many of them, but few of them is what I have mentioned.
Okay. What are the key knowledge areas or skills that everybody should learn over a period of time for them to reach a certain level of in the profession?
See, one is that the application of information technology is quite prevalent in civil engineering field, though not to the extent it is there in the other fields. So you have to keep abreast. So a project manager should be very much aware of what is project planning. So you should have the project planning skills that he will get out of observation. And in order to do that, to make things easy, he should know how to use a project management software. So there are many project management softwares which will help you in scheduling and planning, etc. So that's one skill that they should definitely have. And as I already mentioned that he should keep learning. One of the best thing that I see is as they grow, I always say it's an inverted pyramid. So when you are at the lowest level, your knowledge may be small, but as you grow up, it has to go. So you see that with an inverted pyramid, it is not only wide, it is deep also. So it has to have a wider knowledge, the depth is also there. Only then, so in an organization which is a triangular organization, your knowledge has to be inverted. And once you have that broad spectrum knowledge, then you are good at it.
So that brings me to the other question. What is a career path for an engineer who joins you in this organization?
See, this is a very interesting and good question that people ask me, what is a career path? If I counter that by saying, what career path did I think of when I started in 86? And we have Mr. Suresh, who is with us as an executive director. He joined as a site engineer. I am sure he never thought of what is the career path. I think all of us made our own path. We said we will grow. How do we grow? We do with that. So we have always recognized people who have worked hard in integrity. We have another gentleman called Shant Kumar who joined us as at a very low level in the office, and he was in the housekeeping and he was looking after the office facilities. Then he gradually grew. Today he heads the finance department. He has completed his what I think it is called the what CA is that, I'm not sure. I think company secretary course, or he has completed. Then he is at the top level. He heads of finance. So I'm sure when he came here, thought, what is career path for me? No. So all those people who ask me, there are in our organization there are people more than 10 years. I think we have a lot of them who have got more than 10 years, who put in 10 years in this organization. And many of them have come and then seen that they make their own career path. We have always given them the facility to showcase what they have got. Anybody who showcases and handles more. There are people who will say, I want career path, but then say, I won't go here, I won't do this. That cannot happen. So somebody who is really wants to grow, he has to draw his own career path and he goes big. And we have no qualms about it. I mean, today we are spread all over the country. When we are doing jobs outside also, why not do and carve out their own career path?
Is there a formal system?
It need not be a path, it can be a ladder also.
Okay. Is there a formal system that they can refer to that can tell them what are the choices open for them to grow?
We have not drawn any formal way of saying that this is how you will go. See, somebody may be good at quantity surveying. So he may choose to do the quantity surveying, contracts management and that, and he should be doing that. Today we have alliance partners from UK called Red Levitt Bucknell. We are their India alliance partner. It's a multinational company. So we are doing quite a lot of cost management work for them. So anybody who wants to do that, and he can. And contracts management and cost management is a very, very interesting subject. So you can choose that and you can do that. That itself is there. So it is up to him. What I am saying is, he can even say, look here, I am going to look after the whole region. Give me that. That's it.
So how did this RLB alliance come to happen?
Oh, that's another interesting thing. It was, I think, the pre-COVID days when RLB, Red Levitt Bucknell, came to this country and they were looking for their alliance partners. So they went around, and I understand they also went to the British High Commission to find out, and they got reference of one of us and another company also. So they did a due diligence for some time, and we didn't know about it at all. One day they just called and said, can we come and meet you? Said fine, and then it went on. They talked to us for some time. I think it took nearly 6 or 8 months. And then finally they chose us their partners, alliance partners for the whole of the country. That again, I think, was purely out of the reputation that we have got. And we didn't pitch for it or we didn't do anything for that. They went around and market and they got the information.
What are some of the projects that you have done for them?
What we are doing is only quantity surveying projects. So quantity surveying projects we have done across the globe. We have from the Hong Kong airport, electrical cabling. We are doing a lot of projects in Saudi Arabia now. We did a Red Sea project for them. We are doing the Grand Mosque. And we are doing the New Zealand High Commission in New Delhi for them, which is given to us from Auckland, New Zealand. And we have done some projects in Greece. We have done Paris, and done quantity surveying in Hawaii. So it all comes downloaded to us from the UK headquarters or Hong Kong or anywhere else. And so we do the projects for them.
Okay. Now that brings me to another question. You started primarily in residential, or did you work on
No,
different lines of
primarily
businesses?
residential, but as I mentioned to you, Intel was the break that we have got when we went into IT also. And that gave us, so we did the global village, which is nothing but only IT.
IT company.
So we have, as a policy, for various reasons, we don't go into infrastructure projects. One is that we don't have an experience. So we didn't want to tread into an area where we are not aware of, we are not acquainted with that particular field. It's totally a different ball game. I always say that there is a difference between, that's the major difference between a goldsmith's work and a blacksmith's work. So what we are confined to is a goldsmith's work. They are all large, huge scale works. So
No, that's fine. What about the different kinds? You do factories, you do...
yes. Our lines of business have got residential apartments. We don't do residences now. Very rarely, unless residential apartments, factories, and malls, universities, what called as institutional buildings, and pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, hotels. All these things we do.
Okay. See, in, so if you are able to look at it, one of the things, what is your real vision for the organization?
No, this is a question that is often asked and said, what is your vision? Our vision, I think the vision should be the best project management company in terms of services being rendered, the quality of services rendered. I'm not so much concerned about the revenue and how big it should be. Are we everywhere? We should be having so many crores of rupees of revenue. What I'm looking at is how good are we in rendering our project management. We should be recognized as the top company in saying that this, if you are to go for, the other day there was one client, he said, who is from US and who said that I didn't know. I have given him the example of people going to MNCs just because you come from. But later on he came to know and he gave us a very good certificate. He said that I had not known this, you are one of the best and I am going to be your marketing man in the US. So that is the sort of reputation that we want to have in that. That's the vision, if you call it as the vision.
Yeah. So what would you call as the operational objectives that you would have for this organization? What would you want people to concentrate on?
Concentrate on, one is high productivity. You should be able to look at a project and one person should be able to see. Our day there were not many people. I think the productivity has come down. I would like to really see that the productivity of an individual increases drastically and the quality. So not at the cost of the quality. It has to be there, the quality and the productivity. That's what I'm looking at. And we should be able to have really high quality deliverables in terms of project management.
So can you elaborate a little about what you mean by productivity?
As I mentioned to you earlier also, a person as he grows, he should be able to look at a broader perspective of a project. You shouldn't be having, I need one electrical engineer, I need one plumbing engineer, I need another fellow to look. It's not required because it's absolutely easy and it is very, very possible to see that you don't need all of them. I mean, if I were to draw examples from my own experience, when we did some of the hotels, 350 rooms, we were only two. One person was handling the contracts, I was handling the site, and I had an assistant, nearly 352 rooms. So we didn't have somebody for interior, somebody for right leg, somebody for left leg, no. That is where I am saying the increase of productivity. So that would be the best way to manage a project.
And this happens by building up a lot of cross knowledge.
Cross domain knowledge and looking at it and learning.
Are there other things that you would want to say, other than my asking questions? Are there something that you would like to tell?
No, one thing that I would like to tell is when you ask me about how different are we, one of the ways that we look after the employees, And all those newcomers who have come and looked at, they have to understand. I think in terms of project management company, which is in the construction field, construction project management company, I'm not aware of any other company which shares its profit in terms of phantom shares. We are recognizing the contribution of any individual who has been with the organization for a certain period of time. So there is a formula that we have worked out saying that what is his position and how many years he is there. So we share a percentage of the profit with the staff members who have put in more than 5 years of company. We would like to have, because we want to recognize those who have put in more than 5 years. I don't think anybody else does that. So when people ask me about why should we join, one is, I don't think there is anybody. There are a lot of people who have left. Recently also, one of them who has resigned and gone. All of them say when they come here, they learn a lot. Nobody else teaches them. The culture that we have got is we encourage learning. We teach them, and they say that the interaction that we have, they learn. I don't think anybody. So absolutely, it is not a selfish interest. We also have interest to see that an individual learns. So we do that. It has got a company also benefits out of it, but the individual also benefits. I don't think anybody else does this in this format. But these are some of the things that how we treat. We have got, as anybody else, of course, Provident Fund, etc. is there. We give them insurance. We look after them, and we have an HR department which constantly interacts with them. And so we are probably one of the best construction projects. Even the magazines have said that we are the top 10 in the Asia. So I think not in terms of just our professional deliverables, even treating the employees are very good. There are some of them who are there for, the Suresh who mentioned is there for the last 30 years. Even the front office lady who is there, she is there for the last 25 years. So we do have people. That reflects on the way we treat people. That's it. I think all those youngsters, all those newcomers who have come should work and make sure that they have high integrity, professionalism, courage of conviction to tell somebody this is what it is. They have to come out if they have already been in a particular frame of mind, as I've worked as a contractor or anything, they should understand what it is. Learn. They have to learn and increase their knowledge, widen their knowledge, and keep it deep also. That's exactly what I want.
You also made a comment once saying that ownership is so much more important.
Yeah, see, you when you go to a project, you should get emotionally attached to it. Then you become ownership. Then only you own it. There are projects that we have executed. The one in probably the Asia or the world maybe. And anybody who has done this project should be so proud of it and saying, no, the intricacies that are there in this project, you should own that project. Then you should say, then you should blow your trumpet. You should say that I have delivered this. So anybody who owns the project will understand and know where the shoe bites. Well, from the client's point of view, he will be able to do it. So unless you own the project, you will not do it. That's why I should say you should own the project.
That's how you become the true representative for the client.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Prakash, for this.
Thank you, Srini.